Hello everybody! In this video, let's create a mist pass in Blender. Mist passes are extremely important for post-processing our images in Photoshop. You can use the mist passes to create, for example, a depth of field effect, a blur in Photoshop, or you can even use it to select certain areas of your composition and paint over that. So let's take a look at the assets we have here. I set up a pretty simple scene with just a figure, a couple of assets, and a plane to serve as our ground, so we can have some sort of depth, and we can, of course, generate a depth pass. So let's begin by switching our view to the rendered mode. So here we have Eevee, and once you establish your scene, it's very important that you set up the aspect ratio of your camera. So you need to go to the output properties and change the resolution to your desired aspect ratio. Okay, this will be very important afterwards. So let's create the mist pass. All you need to do is in rendered mode, you need to click on shading, and then under render pass, you click on combine to expand the options, and then you click on mist. And there you go. You have your mist pass. Simple as that. And you can see that the further away from the camera the objects are, the lighter they will be in terms of tones. Okay? So you can see darker objects will be closer, lighter objects will be further away. So let's render the image and see what we get. But before you render, this is very important. Click on layer properties, and under passes, expand data and select mist. Otherwise, the mist pass won't render. So now go to render, render image, and yeah, you have your beauty render here, but where is the mist pass? So you have to go to combined and select mist. And here's your mist pass rendered. But you can see it's a little bit different than what you have in the viewport. It has a little bit more contrast and less difference in the tones. There's a way to correct that. So let's see how we can make it exactly how our viewport looks like. So the first thing you need to do is disable all the overlays, and then go to View, Viewport, Render Image. And that's it. I mean, you have an exact render of your viewport, okay? And the aspect ratio of this image is the one you set up before when you set up the camera aspect ratio. So remember to save your image, go to Image and save your image, and now you can close it, okay? So another useful pass we can have for post-processing in Photoshop is the clown pass. So let's see how we can make a clown pass in Blender. Okay, so now we have to switch back to solid view, and in solid view, you have to click on shading again, and you can see here we have a pretty different panel, which is the solid view panel. So first of all, let's go under color and click on random. And now let's disable the outline and the specular lighting. So uncheck outline and specular lighting. And now the last thing you need to do is go to lighting and click on flat. And now you have a clown pass, which is pretty good for selecting the separate elements on our image. So let's go again to View and Viewport, Render Image, and that's it. We have our clown pass rendered. Make sure you save your image so we can import it to Photoshop. Speaking of that, let's see how we can use these render passes in Photoshop. So let's switch to Photoshop now, and you can see I already set up my layers with the mist pass and the clown pass. Okay, so let's suppose you want to paint only over the character. So let's hit Ctrl J and duplicate the selected layer. And now we can select the clown pass layer. So let's select the clown pass layer, and with the magic wand, we can click on the figure. You don't even need to turn on the layer. And what we can do now with the figure selected is we can create a new layer to modify the character. So as a demonstration, let's select nearby colors and try to lighten the lower part of the character. And as you can see, this makes it pretty easy to paint over specific areas of your image. So you can use the same method to isolate all the single parts of your composition. Okay? Good. Now let's use the mist pass to create a depth of field type of blur. All right, so what we're going to do is select the topmost layer and hit Ctrl Alt Shift E. And this will copy all the layers to a single layer, but still are going to keep your layers intact. All right? So let's create a layer mask and let's turn on our mist pass. So click on the visibility of the mist pass, Control A to select all, Control C to copy it. Now we can turn it off and then hold Alt and click on your layer mask to isolate it. So now we can hit Control V and paste our mist pass in our layer mask. Okay, so hold Alt and click on the layer mask again to go back to the normal view. Now select the thumbnail, go to Filter, Blur, and Lens Blur. All right, so when you go to the Lens Blur filter, you see that the layer mask will be applied as the source of your blur. So make sure you have the layer mask as your source. Okay, so under source, make sure you have layer mask. Right? As you can see, we now have a pretty nice blur on the background and the character is pretty sharp. Okay? You can also adjust the blur focal distance to increase or decrease the sharpness of the elements on your image. Okay? Another thing you can do is to click on invert and then you invert the blur, which means the foreground objects will be slightly blurred and the background will be sharp. All right? So that's pretty much it. Thank you so much for watching and I hope it was helpful. So don't forget to like the video and subscribe to the channel, and I'll see you all in the next video. Bye bye.